So, you've heard about the ADDIE model of instructional design, but what about SAM? What the heck is that? And why is there always such a debate about which one is better and which one should you be following? Well, in this video, I'll help you tackle all of those questions. So stick around. Hey there folks, Tim Slade here from the eLearning Designers Academy. You know, when it comes to the world of instructional design and e-learning development, there's no single right way to do, well, anything. And everyone has a different opinion on what the process should be and what they prefer to use and follow. And this couldn't be any more true than when we start looking at the various instructional design models. Now, I've previously shared with you an overview of the ADDIE model, which is the most widely known and commonly used instructional design model and stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation. Now, it wouldn't be fair for me to talk about the ADDIE model if I didn't also explain the SAM model. So let's start here. What is SAM? Well, like ADDIE, SAM is another industry-recognized design and development model, which stands for the Successive Approximation Model. Now, I know that sounds like quite a mouthful and sounds horribly complex and intimidating, but I promise you, it's really not. You see, in a nutshell, the SAM model is really no different than the ADDIE model. It just rearranges each of the phases or steps into short iterations. And the reason the SAM model was created is because the ADDIE model is usually criticized for its linear approach and lacks of flexibility, which we'll talk about in a moment. But what do I mean by that? Well, let's start by revisiting the ADDIE model. You know, if we look at the five stages or steps of the ADDIE model, analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation, the ADDIE model is usually compared and criticized as being a waterfall model, where each phase is completed sequentially. Now, what SAM does is that it takes the same five elements or phases of the ADDIE model and reorganizes them into multiple cycles, otherwise known as sprints, where you work towards your desired solution in an iterative fashion. And how many sprints or iterations you might have in a given project is really only limited to how many it takes to achieve your desired results. And so this is why if ADDIE is similar to a waterfall model, SAM, on the other hand, is often compared to an Agile model. And with any sort of Agile model, the goal is never to deliver the perfect solution. Instead, the goal is to deliver a minimally viable product, otherwise known as an MVP, which you can quickly create, deliver, test, and then iterate on over time. So if we take a more detailed look at the SAM model, the first phase is known as the preparation phase. And this would be most akin to the analysis phase of the ADDIE model. It's during this preparation phase when you gather information, conduct needs analysis, and conduct a kickoff meeting, otherwise known as a savvy start in the SAM model. Now from there, we move into our first iterative design and development phase. And this is where, again, we quickly design, develop, and implement an MVP or alpha version of our training solution to our learners so that we can evaluate its effectiveness. Now, after that, you might move into a second or even a third iterative design and development phase to make adjustments to your training intervention and once again, implement and evaluate them as a beta version of your training. And finally, after all of that, we move into the gold or final version of the training and officially roll it out and consider the project complete. And so that's what the SAM model looks like in a bit more detail. Remember, the goal is simply to deliver a minimally viable product as quickly as possible. That way you can test it and make adjustments along the way. Now, if you're new to instructional design or e-learning development and you're just now learning about ADDIE and SAM, you're probably thinking, well, Tim, that sounds fantastic, but what model should I be using? Well, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It really isn't as important as some folks might suggest, at least in my opinion. You see, whether you take a linear waterfall approach to your projects where you complete each phase in succession, or you take a cyclical iterative approach, it's not about the model you choose to follow, it's about what happens inside the model. And in this case, whether you follow ADDIE or SAM, the same tasks are necessary to analyze a performance issue, recommend a solution, design, develop, and implement an instructionally sound training or learning intervention, and measure its effectiveness at the end of the day. But it's been my experience that the ADDIE model is a great model to follow if you're new, or if you're working with stakeholders and SMEs who are new to the instructional design and development process, and when you're working on projects that have a set scope or deadline. And of course, SAM is good when you are more confident in the development process, when you want to quickly deliver a solution so that you can test and iterate on it, and when the scope allows for more flexibility. Now, with that said, the main drawbacks of SAM is that you can find yourself continually iterating on a solution past the point that you're no longer seeing an ROI or a return on investment on the improvements that you're adding. And so if you're a perfectionist, which is quite common in this industry, or you're working with stakeholders and SMEs who just love nothing more than providing an endless list of edits and changes, then this is something that you're going to want to watch out for. Now, before we wrap up this video, let me say this. It would be my opinion that the debate between ADDIE and SAM doesn't have to be as much of a binary choice as some folks make it out to be. It's my belief that you can take the best parts of both models and apply them to your own projects. For example, if you're mostly following the ADDIE model and you find yourself, in the implementation phase, but you realize that you need to go back to the drawing board on a few things, there are no laws or rules saying you can't jump back to analysis, design, or development as needed. You just draw a line that points back to the phase that you need to revisit, and that's official enough for me and anyone else. You see what I did there? My point is, do what you need to do to move the project forward. And remember, it's not about the order of the steps or what model you call it. It's about what steps you actually take. All right, so that's an overview of the SAM model of instructional design, along with how it compares to the ADDIE model and my thoughts on when it's best to use each one. And so I want to know what you think. Do you prefer the ADDIE or SAM models or a combination of the two? Share your thoughts, tips, questions by commenting down below. Otherwise, as always, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already, make sure to click those like, subscribe, and those bell buttons down below to get alerted the next time I publish a video just like this one. And of course, join us inside the eLearning Designers Academy, where we focus on helping new instructional designers and e-learning developers grow their careers by focusing on skills first. Otherwise, my name is Tim Slade, and until next time, I'll see you around.